Car Talk is presented by Gates Automotive, Northern Indiana's premier local-owned auto dealer, specializing in Toyota, Chevy, and pre-owned vehicle sales and service. Gates Automotive has locations in South Bend, Mishawaka, Granger, and Elkhart. For more information, visit gatesautomotive.com.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in for this episode of Car Talk, presented by Gates Automotive, where we talk about everything car related, from buying, selling, to financing and servicing. Today's guest has been with us for a long time, between 8 and 9 years. He spent time at our downtown South Bend store in sales, then he got a promotion to finance, and now he's at our newest store out in Elkhart. He's a huge asset to our team and is very knowledgeable about everything automotive related. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Jeff Howe.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Jeff. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, especially on your day off. I know that we've had a lot of people that have come on their day off, so that's just kind of par for the course, but it just seems like everybody is so willing to be a part of this. So thank you for doing that, Jeff. I can't wait to tell your story and also how you're such a huge asset to Gates.
Awesome, for sure.
Cool. Awesome. Well, the first start of this is the 30-second rundown, where I throw as many questions at you as possible, and you try to answer them in 30 seconds or less. Okay. So let's start the timer. 3, 2, 1. What's your full name?
Jeffrey Arwell Howe.
Where were you born?
I was born in South Bend, Indiana.
Where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Walkerton, Indiana.
Where'd you go to high school?
Went to John Glenn High School.
What was your favorite class in high school?
Class in high school, PE.
What did you do right after high school?
So right after high school, I had started working in a little bit of construction. Also worked at Madison Center for a while as a mental health tech. Always was interested in working with people and helping people. So that was something that I was passionate about.
Yeah, so you stayed with that. We'll stop that. Well, great. Good job. We got like 3 more to get through. We'll get through them pretty fast. Are you married?
I am married, yep.
When did you get married?
Got married in May 17th of 2018. Almost messed up. Yeah. I knew I was going to say April. Yeah. I knew it. I just knew I was going to say it.
Well, I'll tell you a story about that here in a second. When did you start with Gates?
Started Gates April 22nd, 2013. So always something with April, right? Yeah, something with April always gets me caught up.
That's funny. And how many roles have you had with Gates, and what roles were they?
So I started as a sales consultant downtown South Bend, got moved to finance at Chevy World, and then recently, about 3 years ago, moved to Elkhart as a finance manager. So 2 of them.
That's great. And we were talking before this, and there's not a lot of people that have been working at 3 of our stores. You're one of the select few, so that's probably pretty cool that you get pulled in the right areas. Like when they started that store, you were there day one.
Correct.
And it was something that they wanted to have you a part of. So that's pretty cool to say, hey, I was such a huge asset to this team that they wanted to bring me out to start the store.
Yeah, it was very proud moment when someone tells you you're going to open a store because Granger, I was here when we opened that store.
That's true. You're right.
And because
that was open in 2013.
Yes. Yeah. I wasn't a part of it, but when you've seen it grow and you've seen the guys that were involved, Drew and all those guys that were there, so not all of them are there to this day. It's changed quite a bit. Obviously they've sold more cars, they have more service, they bought some more lots.
That's right.
But those guys that were involved in it, they built that store.
Exactly.
To what it's become. So they can look back on that, and that's something they can have in their career, and no one can ever take it from them.
Yeah, exactly. And just like you said, to go back to what they started at. So in 2013, when they opened that store in Granger, they wanted that store to sell 35 to 40 cars a month. And now they're consistently hitting over 100 every month.
Yeah.
So they're at almost 3 times, they're over 3 times what they wanted them to sell, which is awesome. It's just cool to see that, and to also know that to get them to where they're at now, they've had to really pour into the community and take care of their customers. Yeah. And that's what they've done to make that work so well. And just like you said, it's cool to see that, and also to see the progress. That way, at the moment, when you're at the end, well, not at the end, but now looking back to where they started, you're proud of that. And even to be with Elkhart, where you guys are at now. So you guys opened in April of 2019. To look back on where you guys were at when you started, that's amazing.
Yes, it is. I mean, and you look at Granger, a lot of it is their salespeople. they've been there for a very long time.
True.
So, it's the consistency and it's the customers coming back because they want to work with that individual.
That's right.
And in Elkhart, we're getting to that point now where we have the staff that is becoming experienced and been there for a long time. And it's big because those customers that come back want to see, the guy they worked with before.
Exactly. And they want to see that consistency. And they have that at Granger. Well, not all the guys there right now were there at day one.
No.
But the guys that are there now at Granger have been there for multiple years. And they've been part of that full team building, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I think you guys are really at that point now in Elkhart. So at Elkhart, you guys have really built this cool culture as a team. Mm-hmm. Every time that and I've said this before, but every time I go there, it's not like people are messing around, but every time you walk in there, everybody's having a great time. Everybody is working with customers. Customers are having an awesome time. It's just really cool to feel that and see that.
Yeah, it's a little more relaxed store. Yeah. I hate to say it that way, but we are. We like to have fun. Not saying that we don't like to work, because we do. There's a lot of paperwork to do and making sure everything's right. But we do have a lot of fun. Yeah. And that's one thing I do love about the car business is we like to have fun.
Yeah.
But it's really in our personalities. And that's when you get a lot of those guys together, you're going to have, there's going to be some laughing going on, some jokes getting carried out.
Yeah, exactly. And even, so the managers at that store, so Steve Schaefer, Joe Rodriguez, and then Jeff Gates. So shout out to them. Yeah. They've done an awesome job at leading that. And obviously you're a big part of that, Jeff, because you've been there since day one.
Yeah. If you look back, every one of the managers are still there.
That's right.
As soon as
and
it
even
opened.
in service, Kevin Scheibelhut.
Yeah, even
Shout
Kevin.
Out to Kevin.
We've only added people. So we've added Andy Radford, which is a huge benefit to our team.
Shout out to Andy.
Huge asset. You have, Erica and Tina that have came out.
Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Tina.
To help. So we haven't ever lost anybody in management. We've just added to it, which is obviously a huge benefit.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how would you describe the experience when a customer comes into the Gates of Elkhart store? What is that like for them to walk in the doors? What do they feel?
Well, I hope they have a good time. One,
they do.
it's pretty intimate though, and I say it like that is because it's very small. Yeah, it's not like you walk into Toyota, you look up, and you're like, "Whoa, this is big." Chevy World, same way. It's a lot smaller environment, so you're probably going to have a management person that's going to say hi to you,
which is a big thing in my opinion.
Yes, it's going to be different than most of your auto experiences, especially in Elkhart. When I say that, we talked about it before I got on the mic. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of places in Elkhart that sell cars, but they're just this little store. There's not 15 guys that are involved. Maybe they don't have a service department.
Exactly.
They've heard of Gates, but they don't know Gates, and that's kind of our job to kind of explain where we're at and what we have to offer, because a lot of people don't exactly know.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many dealers in Elkhart County, and they're small ones. They don't have service. They don't have a full-fledged finance department, so they can't get their financing needs taken care of. If you look across the street at competitors that are right there on the same street as us, they're just completely different.
Yes.
And there's just a huge difference in experience. When they come to Elkhart at our Gates of Elkhart store, they're able to work with the salesperson. There's someone on management that can really help with that. And then beyond that, once they go to finance, we have all of their needs taken care of for that. And guess what? Months later, when they come back, we have a full service department.
Correct.
We have all that stuff.
Well, not only a service department, we have a body shop.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
Which is big. We don't have it per se on site, but we have
the connections there. Exactly.
The connections there for Granger. And huge benefit, especially lately. Been a lot of accidents because of the weather.
Exactly.
So there's still a huge need for the body shop. There's a lot of, I think it's 2 months out to get your car in right now.
If not more right now, right?
If not, because we see that when we have a car that when you get some work done on, we sold it in December and it's getting fixed in February. Yeah. I mean, that's a long push out.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what else would you say is it that makes Gates different than other dealers in the area?
Well, Gates, one thing that recently happened is we did a lifetime warranty.
That's true. I
would say that's a huge, benefit, especially with the guy that's in, the business office.
Yeah.
We see the huge value, and it's not only today, it's down the road. And that's what we say about Gates is we're not just here for you today, but many years down the road. And that's what that coverage is going to come, in play is many years from now.
Exactly.
That's not the only thing though. Gates what separates us from everybody else is the people, right?
Yeah.
It's guys like Clint Emberton. It's guys like
shout out to Clint,
Drew Dixon,
shout out to
Aaron
Drew.
Krieger,
Shout out to Aaron.
Scott Blackford,
Shout out to Scott.
Mike Clark.
Shout out to Mike.
I can name
the list is long.
very long.
Yeah.
You know, it's that those guys pour into everybody else, and you might not be like, oh, I'm going to be this guy, but you take a little thing from every guy, and that's what you decide, you know, I'm going to be this.
Yeah.
And you use all those strong points, but it's not only at work, right? You look at them with the way they are with their children, or
That's
the way
right.
they're with their wives, and
or how they act in the community.
yes, how they act in community. You know, that is a huge part of why Gates is different.
So Jeff, what was it that brought you to Gates? How did you first learn about us? How did you want to come sell cars?
So that's a funny story. I was online one night. I was looking for a job, and I was on Craigslist, and that's where I found
Which you could find good jobs on there back then, right?
Yeah, actually, a lot different than it is today. A lot of scams on there, but applied, had an interview. Well, actually didn't apply. Just had an interview time. Came here to Gates Toyota at the time, and interviewed, filled out an application, and got hired in way back then. So I'm so glad that I was on Craigslist, you know, looking around and made that jump. But I knew what Gates was.
Yeah.
It's not like I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Gates has been around for so long.
Yeah, exactly.
I always drove by the Sears store, you know, as a kid.
Oh, the one in downtown South Bend?
Yeah, seeing the cars on the ramps and everything. And then come to find out, that's where I started. It wasn't at the big Sears building because it was no longer there, but in the little store. So it's pretty cool store.
How cool. So the downtown South Bend store, the pre-owned lot that we had at the time when you started, that one kind of gets a bad rap. But you and I were talking earlier about how you just took pride in that place and you took pride in your job. But I think that's what has made you excel, not only at that store, but at other stores, is you understood that it's up to you that decides what the image of the place you work is. That's just one thing that you said earlier that really resonated with me.
Yeah, so I got hired in, and I worked with a sales manager. His name was Sean Drawley.
Yeah.
And he just recently retired.
Yeah.
But one thing he would teach you, and if you know about Drawley, he's very prideful, and he's going to win. He's a winner.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I took on is, one, I have a lot of pride, and I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And with that store, I know it's not the prettiest store, right? It's older, it's a little more beat up. So if you compare it to all the other Gates locations, then it wasn't that.
Yeah, it was the oldest store.
It was the oldest store. It didn't have a service center, didn't have a detail center, didn't have a body shop. But if they were coming there, they were coming there to buy a car.
That's right.
You know, so that was one benefit of it. And I liked it. It was home. It was definitely home. And when we closed it, it was kind of sad. But me going to the Elkhart store and it being the replacement of downtown really just made it feel better.
Oh,
you know?
That's cool. Like it was almost full circle.
It was full circle.
That's right.
Yeah. And what a change. I mean, a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't want to be downtown South Bend and be a part of South Bend. It was that it was time.
Yeah, it was like time to expand to new markets. And I know we haven't talked about this yet on this episode, but we are bringing Chevy back to South Bend. Yeah. And hopefully they're breaking ground on that next month in March. And then they think it'll be 9 to 12 months, but obviously we're talking about construction times. So it could be double that easily.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
With that.
Now, when someone's shopping for a car, what advice would you give them if they're in a rebuilding stage of their credit?
So rebuilding of your credit, you know, if you don't have an easy access to a co-signer, because that's really the easiest way.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
If you know someone...
Getting a car loan so we can rebuild that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is probably the quickest way.
Yeah.
You know, if you're trying to buy that car because it's instant, right? With a co-signer.
True. Or
you bite the bullet a little bit, right? You get that car loan and you pay a little higher interest.
Yeah.
And then you refinance in 6 months to a year and a half. It's another way, but there's other ways to do it. Maybe with a personal loan or a small credit card that you can get. And, you know, even if you give them the $500 up front and you use it and you pay it back, I mean, that's also a way to do it. But again, these things could take, you know, a couple years. You know, it's not going to happen overnight, or if you had a cosigner, or if you just, you know, kind of decided to buy the car and pay the extra money now. to get, to where you're going.
Exactly. And
for your future.
I think you hit it right on the head, is that the fastest way to rebuild your credit is by making on-time payments on an auto loan.
Correct.
So if you have access to that cosigner, then all of a sudden that process is immediate. You get a better rate, and you also get to rebuild yours because you're still on there. You're getting the history of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great thing. What would you say makes the finance department at Gates different than other dealerships? Because I think the general perception of finance is they get a pretty bad rap. And there's this big myth that the finance department is only there to be there for the finance department, but that's not true.
Yeah. Well, one, we do have a lot of relationships with local lenders. And
exactly.
It's been built for a long time. So it's not like when you hear Teachers Credit Union, United, and Terra, whoever it is, that we don't talk to them on a daily basis.
That's right.
We do. They mean a lot to us, and we mean a lot to them because we provide them a lot of, business.
That's right.
So big ad, big ad there, but also you're right. Finance, I think finance guys are all for themselves.
Yeah.
But it's false.
Yeah,
Everything
exactly
that we do is to make everybody else's job easier, or that's how it's supposed to be.
That's right.
Right.
And that's what we do a great job at, Jeff.
Yeah, I think so. And it's all a lot of the processes that we have in place here at Gates. It's not my process. It's something that people have been doing for a long time that makes that easier on everybody else.
Exactly.
And it's also, I think the biggest car myth when it comes to finance is like, warranties are bad, right? Well, we don't call them warranties. We call them coverage. Yeah. It's like the memes, right? The guy's sitting there. He's like, I've been trying to find you about your car's extended warranty. and it's funny, but the reason why it's a myth or why it's bad is because it wasn't that those people, when they had an issue with your car, they want to have coverage.
Exactly.
The question is, do they have the type of coverage that's going to cover what is needed?
That's right. Do they have the right coverage?
Yeah. Is it quality?
Exactly.
Is it quality? We've been with Ethos for, over 30 years. Great company as well. And our coverages that we provide are going to make sure that if something's broke, it's going to get fixed. And that means that if you pay for the product, you're going to be covered. Yeah. Because I know that a lot of these companies, at Car Shield, right? It's always advertised online and it's, it's not cheap. But really what makes a customer angry is when they have something break and it's not covered.
And that happens so often with these competitors that have this coverage. And Car Shield was one. Route 66 was one.
Yes.
They're very expensive and they have very little coverage.
Correct.
And they try and scheme their way out of covering items.
Yes.
And with the Ethos policies that we have, that we offer to our customers, not only can you customize what level of coverage you have, so you can get anything all the way from a powertrain limited one to a bumper up one that covers basically everything on there.
Yes.
Can you talk about the different levels of coverage?
Yeah, so you have your powertrain, it's going to be your basic, engine, transmission, drivetrain. Then you have your standard coverage, it's a little bit lower. It's on used vehicles that it might have a little higher mileage. And then you have your brand new vehicle coverage, which is going to cover almost everything. I mean, it's not going to be your oil changes or your light bulbs.
Yeah.
But it's as small as, alternators, starters, tie rods, things of that nature, which is a lot of the small things we see go wrong, after, say 5 or 6 years of a vehicle's life. That alternator might go out. The starter might go out. Maybe not the engine or transmission yet, but it does happen.
Yeah.
But it's more, with the vehicles today, there's a lot more technology. So we're talking electronic components, because the engine transmission, if it's a lubricated part, it's not just the only thing. I mean, there's a lot of electronics running to the engine, the transmission, that makes it work.
That's right.
So that's why the new vehicle coverage is so, valuable, is because it's going to replace or repair those things.
Exactly. And that way you have all those items covered no matter what it is. Now, what about term levels of that? I mean, you could probably get something between 1 year all the way up to like a 4 or 5 year one, I think, with our Ethos policies, right?
Yeah. So I think on a used vehicle, it goes up to 8 years is the max. And
that's a long time.
It is a long time, and up to 125,000 miles.
Yeah.
On the standard, it just depends on the vehicle. Do a 4-year 50 or a 3-year 36 is typical. And then the powertrain, 3-year 36 is probably about where you're at, and if we're going to offer it or not.
Yeah. And you can get that up to a certain mileage on most vehicles. Is that right?
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Like on a used vehicle, let's say it has 150,000 miles.
I see.
And
Yeah,
you can add the 36,000 miles.
Exactly.
It's not, up to, it's that added 36.
That's right.
Same with standard coverage. With the bumper to bumper, though, it's up to 125.
Yeah.
So if it's sold at 75, it's up to 125.
Yeah, it stops at a certain mileage increment.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
But even then, like you said, you can get the used vehicle with 150,000 miles on it and still get the additional 36,000 miles on it, or 30,000.
Yeah, additional 36,000 miles. Yeah, or 40 or 50, additional 50,000 miles.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of miles when you're over that, 120, 130,000 mile point, because it covers a lot of the electronic components as well and the wear and tear items.
Exactly. And even then, for the limited coverage, so not only beyond like just the powertrain that Ethos offers, but Gates has that lifetime warranty you were talking about. So on your engine components, that will be covered for as long as you own the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes at no added cost when you buy your vehicle. You just walk in and say that you want the lifetime warranty.
Correct.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
How much easier is that?
Yeah, it doesn't get much easier than that.
Yeah. What would you say it's like to service your car at Gates? What's the environment like? What's it like when they pull in? How do we care for people?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot like sales, right? You pull it in, you're going to get a smile from Erica or Tina or Kevin.
Yeah.
And they're going to get you set up and get your oil change done pretty quick. And I always tell that. It's part of the thing when I meet someone in finance. I tell them, it's the cheapest oil change in town, and it is.
That's right.
For a full synthetic. I use it. My wife uses it.
Yeah. Most new cars use it.
Yeah. And it's because it's, one, I work here, it's convenient. But why does my wife use it? Because it's convenient. Yeah. And it's, I wouldn't say cheap. I would say a great value. Because anything that's cheap isn't good.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's a great value. And it's going to be done by a professional. And it's going to be done fast. So that's what I see value in right there.
Yeah. Exactly. Now let's kind of segue back to your career with Gates.
Mm-hmm.
What is one thing that you want to be remembered for at Gates once you retire?
Yeah, one thing I want to be remembered for is being a hard worker. Yeah. Right? Because I take pride in that. I take pride that I always say that who's going to outwork me? Especially it might be different in other stores, right? But if you're in my department, guys that have worked with me, they'll tell you. Right. I mean, I just go. I don't want to stop. I want to make sure that every deal's funded. I want to make sure that all the deals are broke down. I want to make sure that the receivables is done. Yeah. That's right. People that aren't in the car business might not know what all that kind of stuff is, but I want to make sure everything's done because you never know when there's business and when it's going to start again. That's right. You always say be bulletproof by noon, and that means that you're ready for all the new business. Everything's done before noon. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you don't look at stuff at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock when you're ready to go home. Yeah. You check it again. It's like you look at 4. I mean, that's my thing is I look at it all the time because things might change. A deal might have got into a bank at a certain time. True. Just things change. Receivables, when they get to the office, they put it on the list. So I want to be remembered for that, but not always just being known as a serious guy, right? Yeah. We like to have fun. I like to have fun, so I want them to know that, be remembered for, laughing and joking around because that's a lot of who I am. I like to have fun. Well, I think you've made that very clear. Basically, everywhere you've gone, people remember you for that, I think. They think of you as not only being a hard worker, but someone who loves what they do. And you're just so committed to that. And that's not my, even though I believe that those aren't my words, those are other people that have said that about you, Jeff. So I think you've already laid the groundwork for that. You've been here a long time already, so I think that with the continuation of new staff that we have here, you're only going to continue down that road. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and you're going to, right? Yeah, I hope I'm here for many more years. Yeah. It's been going on 9, and I got a heck of a lot more left in me to give. So. Yeah, you still got some fuel in the tank. Yeah, I got a ton of fuel in the tank. Yeah. Ton of fuel. Yeah. Now at your Elkhart store, you guys have been doing an awesome job for only being there for about 3 years now. What do you think has made you guys so successful out there? So like we talked about earlier, I think a lot of it is the market in Elkhart. Yeah. I mean, there is just a huge need for that. And there's really not that many places to buy. Yeah, you can buy your lower end cash cars, but do you have, the newer vehicles that are pre-owned? True. But also, I would say it's our management. Like I said before, we've been there from day one. Yeah. Right. And our salespeople that are now becoming more experienced, and they're seeing, the people come back to them that they have bought from, 6 months ago, a year ago, bringing
Sure.
in their friends, their family. That's what I would put it at for the success.
Yeah. And I think you're exactly right, is that the market there is just so untapped. What I mean by that is there's a huge need for a quality place to buy vehicles,
Yes.
get financing, and get the servicing done.
Yep.
And that's what Gates offers. That's what's so exciting to see Gates grow into new areas and bring new stores to those communities. And I'm excited when we do grow into new markets. Like, we were talking before we even started rolling about even going into Goshen. That's such a huge need out there in Goshen for something like that too. And I guess it's just really cool to see that.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy because when you first start there, you just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Where you're going to sell that many cars.
Yeah, day one, right?
Yeah, day one, you're just like, how is this going to happen? And then it just over time, marketing and being there and the name, and it just comes.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. Back when you were a salesperson at downtown South Bend, what did you do differently from other people that you work with to make you successful?
So the difference was that I worked with a lot of good people, so I wouldn't say anything. But what made me different is
right.
I knew a lot of people, and people knew me as a car guy.
Yeah.
Like but not all my people, my friends and family bought from me. But if they knew they were looking for a car, they knew that I was in the game.
Yeah.
And they would try to get me as many people. So I did sell a lot of people that I knew.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, even to this day, people know Jeff Howe is in the car business.
Yeah. And they still contact you.
Yeah, and they still contact me. I had a buddy contact me the other day that bought a Ram for me, Gates downtown South Bend.
Yeah.
Shout out to Andrew.
Yeah.
And
Shout out to Andrew.
He bought a Chevy Silverado from us last week.
That's great.
So I think it was a 6-year in between period of time.
Wow.
But his thing was like, he's like, well, I trust you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I hope so. You've been friends for a long time. But those are the things that, people just know. They know I'm in the business.
Yeah.
I have buddies reach out to me if it's about certain things. Maybe they don't end up buying from me, but they just need a little bit of advice.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think a lot of people have done so well at, is just being that hub of information so that people in the community, friends, family, have someone to go to. Even Jeff Samalas and I were talking on the last episode about how there's a time where he didn't even know his neighbors. So he just went and introduced him and said, hey, by the way, if you ever need anything Chevy related, car related, financing related, I work at Gates Chevy World. If there's something you need, come to me and I'd be glad to help you. And it's just the simple fact of putting yourself out there and offering assistance that makes a huge difference, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Just being open.
Yeah.
People need to know that you're willing to help them out, even if it has no benefit to you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going in first and trying to help the other person. That's what our salespeople do so good at, they go out there trying to help these customers and put that customer first. But I think that's just because Gates has put the precedent that you put the customer first.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's very important. They're taught that from the very early on when they're just starting. But again, like I said, it's the people that we hire. The people already have it in them.
That's true.
They're just good people. I mean, look at Jordan. Jordan is a guy that came to Gates of Elkhart.
Shout out to Jordan Lentz.
Been in the car business before, but just has his own people that come in all the time. Colin Lamb, he's just a good, genuine person. He has a lot of his own people that come in.
Yeah.
Most consistent guy I've ever met. He's also been our longest tenured salesman.
Yeah.
But he's just a good, genuine guy. Same with, Jordan, just a good, genuine person. So again, all the way across the board, it's the people that are just very, very, just very good people all the way around.
Exactly. They're good people. They're well-rounded, and they just put that customer first at every corner possible.
Yes.
Yeah. How cool. Well, Jeff, what would you say? So you moved to Granger recently.
Yeah.
And before you lived in South Bend, and before we started rolling, you said that you never really went out to Elkhart before that.
No, there's really no need to go to Elkhart, like I said.
Yeah, but that's changed.
Yeah. When they moved me out there, it was kind of just the unknown. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, this is going to be different. Got out there, started working, you're going around. It's like, this is just like being anywhere else. And it became, like I told you before, I don't need to go to Mishawaka or South Bend. I just go right there in Elkhart off gas. I live 7 minutes away, so I live pretty close.
Yeah.
But we don't need to even go to the restaurants anymore.
That's true.
In Mishawaka. We would rather, eat close.
Yeah.
They have a Red Lobster. They have, Logan's. They got a lot of, or it might be Texas Roadhouse, maybe not Logan's.
Yeah, Texas. That's right.
Yeah. But they have a lot of the restaurants just right then and there. I mean, you don't need to go anywhere else. And a lot of different restaurants like Chubby Trout is different and really great.
Yeah, and all locally owned too.
Locally owned, yep.
Yeah, the Chubby Trout, Smokin' Fatties.
Smokin' Fatties.
Owned by the same guy, Cam Newton. I'm sorry, not Cam Newton. That's a quarterback.
Yeah.
Cam Snyder.
Cam Snyder.
Yeah.
He owns Twisted Cow.
That's right.
Twisted
Cow. And then there's another one. I'm sorry. We just mixed this up. Flippin' Cow is the one he owns.
Flippin' Cow.
And then there's Twisted Cow, which is the froyo
That's
place.
not his?
No, that's not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was be the same owner.
Yeah. So that
Flippin'
used to be
Cow.
owned. Yeah, that used to be owned by Mark and Rose Miller. They recently sold that. I don't know who they sold it to. Who knows? Maybe Cam Steiner did buy it. Who knows?
I thought they were connected.
Yeah,
That's
but all
funny.
those places are just great locally owned places.
Mhm.
And beyond that, there's so much opportunity there restaurant wise. And I think that that's really what has shown that that's such a great place is the development and the restaurants that have gone in there right on County Road 6 and State Road 19.
Yeah.
There's so many restaurants that have opened up there recently. Even the development out on County Road 17 on the east side of Elkhart, it's just really showing that there's so much that Elkhart has to offer. If you go downtown Elkhart, so much of that has changed in the last 15 years. The renovation of the Learner, the opening of the Crystal Ballroom, the renovations that they've had there on Main Street, it all just looks so great.
Yeah, there's a lot of renovations. I don't get downtown much, and I don't even know. Honestly, can't even tell you what 17 is.
Oh, you don't go that far.
I don't go far past Cassopolis.
Yeah, Cassopolis.
Yeah,
that's where you draw the line.
That's where I draw the line. Now, maybe later on I'll venture out.
Yeah.
But I do love that area.
Yeah, but man, there's just so much that Elkhart has to offer. And even in Elkhart County, there's multiple 100,000 people that live there.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that commute into Elkhart County to work.
Well, growing up as a kid, I always knew Elkhart County Fair was number one.
That's right.
They were the biggest.
Exactly.
In the state. So I was in St. Joe County Fair, but
yeah.
it's huge.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I went there once as a kid, or maybe I was middle school or something.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, like how big, like spread out it was.
Yeah.
Because you could walk for a long time. It's so big, and it was a lot of fun. So
exactly.
I did know a little bit about Elkhart.
It started with the fair, right?
Yeah, it started with the fair.
Yeah. So when I was little, we would go, man, Jeff, we would go almost every day to that 10-day fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Friday night, the Saturday, the Sunday, of course you knew you were going to be there. You go there with friends.
Yep.
And it was something that we always went to. And so my mom grew up in farming. And my grandpa had a farm. My mom grew up there. And that's what they grew up in, was in the farming side of 4-H. But even in the community, the 4-H has just such deep roots in Elkhart County. And just like I said, it's a social event every year that people look forward to. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And now, well, not now, but after that, when I would start going to other fairs in other counties, I'd be like, man, this is like really small. What is this?
Yeah.
But that was the normal size.
Yeah, yours was the
St.
biggest.
Joe, yeah, exactly. But like St. Joe County, that's a pretty big size fair.
Yeah, it's
compared
pretty
to
big.
what other counties are.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to like Starr County or something like that, it's a lot smaller compared to St. Joe. I've always liked St. Joe just because I'm used to it. I know everywhere to go, because that's why I said when I went to Elkhart County, I was kind of lost.
Yeah.
And it's big, and you don't know, exactly where to go.
Yeah, exactly. And even in the Goshen to Elkhart area, there's so much that has to offer. With the Meijer that's down there, the Walmart, and I think it is a Goshen address, but it's in between Elkhart and Goshen on US 33. There's just such a huge market there too. And even across the street from you guys on Cassopolis, they're bringing that Meijer there.
Yeah.
So that tells you that they know that that's an awesome place to be.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge value or a huge benefit to have them across the street.
Yeah.
I mean, think of how many thousands of people will visit there every day.
Yeah, exactly. And from what I can tell, it's going to be a huge development based off of how many parcels that they have.
Yeah, it's a huge piece of land right there.
Yeah.
We don't know all the details. I mean, we've seen the drawing and stuff. We don't know exactly where the light's going to go and, all that. Hopefully closer to us.
Yeah, true.
and to our drive, but
yeah,
we're just glad that it's growing.
Yeah,
just like we are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of growing, what do you think the future holds for Gates? Obviously, we're opening up a new store here in South Bend, the new Chevy store.
Yeah.
But beyond that, what do you think the future is for Gates?
Well, Gates is going to be here for a long time.
Yeah.
I can promise you that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Joel, Matt, and Jeff, and they still work every day.
Exactly. Shout out to Joel. Shout out to Matt. Shout out to Jeff.
Yeah. I haven't actually directly worked with Joel. I've directly worked with Matt.
Yeah.
And now I directly work with Jeff on a hands-on basis.
Exactly. Every single day.
Yeah. And Jeff has a heck of a lot more in him. He's a hardworking guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you work with that dude and like, he skips his late day some days, you know, like, it's almost every day, every week. You expect him to come in on his late day late, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's always there.
He's there.
And he's a teacher, right? He's going to teach you more and explain things that are going to make you better because, it's his name on the building, right?
True. And
you're talking to the lender. So he wants you to, to learn, become better, not only as an employee, but as a person. Huge benefit. But yeah, Gates is going to be here for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah. And I think you hit it right in the head. That's one thing I love about Jeff Gates is he is such a teacher. He's willing to pour in and mentor people that are in his department.
Yep.
He doesn't have a big ego, and he has such an awesome personality.
Yeah, he does.
Like his sense of humor is amazing.
I mean, he likes to have fun too.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about the store being is, I guess, us being as loose is because of him.
Yeah.
Steve Schaefer as well. I mean, Steve likes to have fun.
Shout out to Steve.
Steve's a hard worker. I mean, all those guys, I mean, they're just not going to miss, right?
Yeah.
But if you see everybody that's in leadership, they don't miss work, right? They're not late.
Yeah, that's right.
They dress well. They take care of themselves.
That's right. They come in early.
Then they're probably going to follow in suit. So just a shout out to them for being, great leaders. And that's what
huge shout out to them for setting the pace for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a huge benefit to have because it pushes us too.
Yeah.
Just because you're in management doesn't mean you're the only leaders either.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to make sure I mentioned that when I was on this podcast is that there's leaders in the sales department. I mean, Terry Calvin, Mike Smith, Jim Pagodas, Mike Fahey, Greg Mitchum, Trent Jackson, and Granger, Jesse McCombs, Andrew Clays.
That's right.
You got, on our team, we got Jordan and Colin, and there's more than just those guys.
Yeah.
There's plenty more. There's leaders on every level. And it's not only in sales. I mean, it's in service, it's in detail, body shop, tons of leaders. And it's just great. I wanted to give those guys a shout out though, because
huge shout out to them.
Yeah. I've learned a lot from those guys.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think just to go into a little more detail on that, I think that everybody is so willing to step up and be a leader because Gates has already set that standard and said, here is how you act at work. Here's how you act at home. And that's because Gates understands it's more than just your job. It's what you do outside of work that's a reflection of you. And if you can have a positive influence in other people too, because it's just compounding from there. I think that's just so huge, Jeff.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's your neighbor is, your friend and also your customer. So that's one thing that, we see is that the person that you talk to at Myers or Walmart the night before might be the guy buying a car from you and you're doing the paperwork.
Yeah, that's right.
So you better make sure that you're treating people with respect and dignity.
Exactly. And you're a good reflection of the company.
Yeah. And be a good reflection of the company, and that's very true. Very true.
Yeah, exactly. What is one thing that really inspires you, Jeff? Whether it's something at work, whether it's something personally?
Yeah, so what inspired me, I had two really great grandfathers. They're passed away now. My mom's dad, he worked, a lot of years, very, very good person. My grandfather on my dad's dad was in union tin knocker, an iron worker. He was just always involved in our lives, hard-working guy. I mean, the guy, even when he retired, was just always working.
Yeah.
I remember being at a babysitter's house, and I'd be like, only way out of here is to call my papa, is what we call him.
Yeah.
And he would, I'd get on the phone, I'd call him. This is even before cell phones.
Yeah.
I just knew it was early enough in the morning. He hadn't gone and cut wood yet. So he'd get on there like, hey, well, if you're coming with me, you're going to work.
Yeah.
And we ain't leaving before 5.
Yeah.
So, go out there, we'd be cutting wood and stuff like this. And he's retired. This is him in his 60s.
This is retirement for him.
Yeah. And this is winter time. And, southern Michigan, northern Indiana, it's not, warm. It's cold.
Yeah.
So he's always inspired me to work, really hard. My dad is an attorney. It didn't matter. It's 7 a.m., 7:30. He's getting dressed, for work.
Yeah.
Always. He don't miss. I remember, a lot of times I'd be like, hey, Dad, can we do this? He's like, look, I got to work. I got to work. Now, he never missed a single one of my sisters or my games. He was there at every single game.
No kidding.
Yeah. Now, not in the younger years, but when it got to
the stuff that mattered, right?
Yeah, elementary, middle school, high school, never missed a game.
Wow.
Like if he wasn't there, there'd be something.
Yeah.
But I don't remember him ever missing a game. He was always there.
Holy cow.
So that inspires me because hard work, right?
Yeah.
Show up to work every day. That's what you do. And two, hopefully then when I have children that I'm going to be that same guy. I'm going to be there, for them the same way.
Exactly. And man, just because we've talked about this a couple times, it's that not only are you trying to have a positive influence in your own life, but in that same perspective, you're trying to pour into your own kids.
Correct.
One day.
Yeah.
And then so that they can do the exact same thing later on. And I guess the parallel back to Gates is that they're doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
It's a generation teaching the next generation. And it's not just the Gates family that does it. They want to teach their employees how to do it.
Exactly.
So that they can teach the community how to do it.
Yeah.
Which is just such a huge thing.
Yeah, we have to think, way beyond ourselves.
That's right.
Because it's not just us. Because our grandparents didn't think that way. Our parents didn't think that way.
That's right.
We need to think about, our grandkids. What are they going to think, when I'm a grandpa?
Yeah, that's right.
What are they going to think about me? And that's what's important. And what are they going to remember me for? So it's exciting to think of the future. Hopefully it doesn't go too fast.
Yeah.
We don't want it to go that fast. But when it does come, that, we could be proud of, what they think.
Exactly. When that day comes, can you look back and be proud on what you did?
Yeah.
And then when you are telling your kids, your grandkids about what you did in the past, that you're proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How cool.
Yeah. Like how long is your, grandpa, how long were you at Gates?
Yeah.
Long time.
Many decades.
Yeah. 30 plus years.
Yeah.
That's what you want to say.
Yeah, exactly. How cool. Well, Jeff, what do you think the future holds for you?
Future holds for me, well, like I said, hopefully move up the ladder, progression in my career. But it's not only about moving up, it's about getting better, right? Because when you look back, even when I got moved to Elkhart, I felt like I knew a lot. I didn't know a ton, though.
Yeah.
When you look back, you're like, God, how much I've learned over the last 3 years.
True.
So 3 years from now, even if I'm in the same role, I want to look back and go, man, I've really grown as a person, as a professional. The things that I've learned about the banks and the relationships I have with the lenders, that's what I want to see moving forward.
Yeah, how cool. When you look back at the last 3 or 4 years, what was a struggle that you went through that you may have failed at, and what did you learn from it?
I'd say the last 3 or 4 years would be like managing time, because that's the one thing about finance. It's really weird on how fast things can go, because
that's true.
You can be really slow and then you can be really busy.
That's right.
And Elkhart's like that. So it's making sure that you're managing your time very, very efficiently.
That's right.
Because you think you have all day, but you don't.
Yeah. And some days at Elkhart, you guys might have to do 5 or 6 turns by yourself.
Yeah. It can be by yourself.
Yeah.
So that's why being prepared and being ready for that, if it's even having enough paper on hand, or if it's
simple stuff like that.
Yeah, having a receipt book, which Jeff Gates had to get on me a little bit back in the day, because he's like, you got to think of this stuff beforehand. Yeah. So now it's always there. Yeah. But it's those little things, and it's managing time so that you're prepared for that next customer.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you do have downtime, you're cleaning, you're prepping, and you're preparing so that when you are busy, that it's easy and it's smooth flowing.
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. You got to make sure that everything's set up.
Yeah.
Make sure your internet's working, which lately, you never know with Automate. It's been down a little bit like the other day.
That's right.
I think it must have been their system, but...
Yeah, they had 2 issues 2 Saturdays in a row.
Yeah, we couldn't...
Yeah.
Something you can't prepare for.
Yeah, exactly.
But, all the other things you can.
Yeah, that's right.
If it's not internet or system related.
Exactly. Yeah, you get to pick how much paper your printer has or your receipt book. You get to have control over that.
Yeah. Or if your iPad's charged or not before you sign a customer up.
Yeah, true.
Which has happened.
Yeah.
So then you got to run in the other office and grab that one. So
yeah. Well, you've had a great addition out there recently with Andy Radford.
Yeah,
I think he's been just such a perfect part that fits under your team that's already been established.
Yeah, he's a huge asset. Obviously, he's very young.
Yeah. Shout out to Andy.
Yeah, that helps. Shout out to Andy. Like him working with the younger, the sales staff that we have is pretty young.
True.
But also he's learning, a lot. And he's very knowledgeable about the car business, though. I mean, if you want to know something about a Toyota, there's always a joke. You ask Andy or Steve, because they know about everything.
Yeah,
I'm not the technical guy.
Yeah,
if you ask me a question about a vehicle, I probably don't know. I might know the size of the engine, or the horsepower, but that's about it. They know about everything. So Andy's a very knowledgeable guy. He's been in the business, what 3 to 4 years? I don't know exactly. So he's been in the business for quite a while too. He's no spring chicken when it comes to it. Yeah, he's just young, which, like I said, that's a benefit to him. I think he got in when he was it 20? Or maybe, no, it might have been before he was 20 years old.
I think he was 18 or 19.
Yeah,
I think he's been there 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, you're right. It was like 18 or 19 years old. To think back, like, wow, that's how young.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get in until, I was 24, 25 years old.
Exactly.
So he's a young gun.
Yeah.
But he's very smart and intelligent, a huge asset to the team. So hopefully he's there for many more years too.
Exactly. He's just been such a great part of that team. Yeah, exactly. He's been such a great fit with you guys, between you and Jeff Gates, Steve Schaefer, J-Rod. Mm-hmm. It's just been a great fit with all of you guys. And you're right on the money when it comes to Toyota and technical parts of Toyota. Yeah. Because you can ask that guy options on specific trim levels for a specific year of a specific model, and he'll be able to tell you.
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah, he knows all that stuff.
He's proud of that stuff. He'll tell you. He'll be like, I know this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's true. He's right almost all the time. I always want to be right, but I'm not always right. He's right a lot more than I am.
Yeah. Well, in the finance department, what has changed over the last 5 or 10 years, whether it's in the industry, technology, what has made it easier for consumers in the last 5 to 10 years?
Do you mean about getting financing or what?
I would say about maybe the process overall. So is it easier to get people financed than it was 10 years ago?
I don't know if it's easier. Obviously, internet makes everything easier.
True, yeah.
So it'd be that way. I was thinking today before I came here, how are they buying cars, 40 years from now without the internet?
Yeah.
How easy was it? They didn't have cell phones, so they had landlines and stuff like that. But nowadays, I would say that what's changed in the last, 4 to 6 years that I've been in finance has just been interest rates. When I first got in, they were really low, which is crazy to think because they're low right now.
Yeah, true.
They were low, then they went up, and then they came back down. And then I think we're going to see that progression of them going back up. I don't think they're going to go very high. I just know they're going to move a little bit.
I think so too. And not that I've done a ton of research on that, but you've heard that the rates have just been so low for so long. And one of the things that they can do to kind of slow down the growth in a positive way so that inflation doesn't go crazy is just to kind of step up the interest rate.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good statement. I mean, it hasn't been raised in how long?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's been a long time since I've heard anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, we hear from the banks when they come in, they're saying, hey, the rates are going to go up a little bit. I haven't seen anything as of yet, but I think in March, they said potentially some rate sheets are going to change. But when I got in the business, the finance departments changed because we didn't have credit acceptance. I mean,
that's true.
We had a thing called Go Financial. And we tried out this auto track or something. It didn't really pan out either. But Go Financial was more about putting someone in a older, higher mile vehicle, which we know the main reason someone repos or has a repossession is not because the person doesn't want to pay, it's because the car breaks down.
That's right.
So credit acceptance, one of their models is putting someone in a newer, nicer car, right? And it's lower risk because that person's probably going to make their payment as long as they can go to work.
That's true.
We also forget that a car is a tool, right? We like to drive the nicest, fanciest thing, but it's not about that. It's about getting from A to B.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's changed in the finance department would be the credit source, on subprime. It's a credit acceptance is a huge asset. We do a lot of car deals through them.
Exactly. And when you say subprime, so maybe some people don't exactly know what that means. What kind of credit score or less would you consider to be subprime?
Well, I would say if anything under 600, because credit scores are very, very confusing. Just because you
they're
see
very fluid.
Just because you see a 700 doesn't mean that they're able to buy, a fancy car. Or if they're a 620 doesn't mean that they can't buy an expensive vehicle. It just really depends on the person and how long they've been on the bureau. If they've been on there for 10, 15 years, have they had an auto loan or many auto loans? Have they had personal loans? Have they had a mortgage? And then how did they treat those? Because some people might be a 630, but they're just a little overextended, right?
True.
And maybe they come in, they're like, hey, man, I've already paid that off. It just hasn't reflected my bureau yet, right? And a lot of times that's true.
Yeah.
And they've had perfect payments on their autos, and they've had perfect home loans, and they just got a little bit over their heads, and they take care of it.
Yeah.
So credit scores are definitely weird. So subprime under 600 would be that position.
Yeah. And even then, when you say subprime, it's not like they can't get approved because we have those options like credit acceptance.
Yeah. So you're under that, you're going to get approved. I mean, if you have the job, which it could just be a week at credit acceptance, or some skin in the game, we say, is money down. Cash down is huge. Typically, banks want to see 20 to 25% down. When you're in that lower category, unless you have the job time, the stability, how long have you lived at home, which is a big thing. How long have you been at your residence? The banks can see the bureaus, and if you move quite a bit, that can also have some concerns for them.
Yeah, really, they're just looking for stability, whether it's where you work or where you live.
Yes, correct. I mean, there's always there's three legs. To credit. You got, or to buying a car, right? You have the job, the money down, and the credit. Yeah. So job, money down, credit. Those are the three things. And if they have two of the three, you can typically buy.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're not so good at one, then with the other two, you can definitely overcome that.
Yes. Yep. You can definitely overcome it with the lender.
Yeah.
If you have all three, it's the best way to buy a car.
Yeah. True. What kind of credit score would you consider to be a good credit score? Like say, you never want them to stop growing their credit score, but what would you say is a good one?
I'd say anything over a 650, 700. I mean, I know that we're really hard on that. I mean, but a 650 can a lot of times qualify just as good as a 700, just depending. But I should take that back, 700 plus.
Okay, yeah.
Because then you're kind of in that tier 1 range. Because a lot of times, it goes up to 850 to 900 depending on the bureau. You see an 825, it qualifies just as good as a 750. You know?
True.
Or a 720. But I guess, over 600 or 700. 650 though, consider yourself, you're doing good.
Yeah. You're on track.
Yeah, you're on track. You're tier, 2 or 3. You might not qualify for the best rate, but you're going to get good rates. So I don't want people to think, I've talked to people and they're like, I'm under 700. It's like, but you're okay.
Yeah. So what? You can still get what you're looking to get.
Yeah. And still at a favorable rate.
Yeah, exactly.
So, people are embarrassed when they're under a 700 and shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It depends on what they're using their credit for.
Exactly.
And what they got out there.
And in all seriousness, I have the opinion that no one should really be embarrassed what their credit score is. Because, yes, that might be a reflection of where you've come from. But it's not a reflection of where you're going to go. You have a choice to change.
Yes, and we say that to people all the time. And that was one of my things when I worked downtown. Would always tell people, you have bad credit doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just that you went through a little rough patch.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they're young, right, get in a situation where they maybe bought a car that was a little more money than they should have, or they didn't have the person that helped them co-sign, so they didn't have the parent or the grandparent. So they got themselves in a high, a high payment, and they messed it up early. But now they're wanting to fix it.
That's right.
And we can be that team that helps them, learn and move, on to how to better that score over time.
Exactly. And Jordan Lentz and I were talking, shout out to Jordan. Jordan Lentz and I were talking about this a few episodes ago, was Gates is able to help get people finance for vehicles who cannot get finance other places.
Yeah.
And in all seriousness, that gives that person an opportunity to rebuild their credit. So they have more choices and more opportunity in the future. That's a huge thing. And man, that would change someone's life drastically if they could just get back on track, which we're able to do.
Yeah, I mean, if someone doesn't have a car, like I said, it's a tool. If you can't go to work.
That's right.
If you can't take your kids to, a doctor's appointment, take them to school if they don't have a bus. I mean, Mishawaka schools, they don't even have a bus system, which is kind of weird.
Oh, my word. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they don't have a school bus system.
That's crazy.
That drives them around.
Yeah.
I thought that was crazy too. When I have a lot of buddies that went to Mishawaka High School, I thought it was nuts.
Yeah.
So a car can be very, very, very important. I mean, I only live 7 minutes from Elkhart.
Yeah.
I'm not going to walk there every day. That's a heck of a walk, So it's important, but think of I listened to your podcast with Andrew and Jordan. Look at how far they drive.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's not hours, but I think Andrew's is an hour.
Yeah.
And Jordan's is like 25 to 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then there's also Carlos Ramirez who's at your store.
Over an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can imagine that without a car or having to share a car with someone. And I know that as an American who lives in this part of the country of the U.S., we are so used to everybody having their own vehicle. But in all seriousness, you need one.
Yeah, you need one.
Yeah.
You can't just go to public transit and get to everywhere you want to go, and especially in an efficient manner. It takes a long time.
That's right.
I had a buddy, that I grew up with that would get on a bus early in the morning to go to the mall, so he could work. And it was forever.
Oh,
he had to get up early just to be there before it opened at 9.
Yeah. Exactly.
3 hours before. So we think, you got transit, but is it efficient?
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not at all. My wife and I were in Indianapolis over the weekend. And so at one time we had both lived down there at the same time, but now we weren't seeing each other or anything like that. So she relied on public transportation while she was down there.
Mm-hmm.
And she was telling me a very similar schedule where if she had to go to work, which she worked in Circle Center Mall, which is right in downtown Indy, she had to get on a bus, go wait for the bus, then go this crazy route, and then hopefully get to work on time. Now, to get to work on time, you have to get up super early.
Yep.
Then when you close, you might not be able to get back on the bus route because the buses stop at a certain time. So there's really no reliability there 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, I never lived in a big city. I've traveled through them, though, so like the transit system. Yeah. But I think they run pretty late, though, don't they? Like
it depends on the city.
Washington, D.C. and all that?
So I think they would run 24/7 in the bigger cities. So like Washington, D.C., New York City, Chicago, Detroit. I would imagine that those ones run 24/7. For some reason in Indy at the time, they would only run certain days. Man, I want to say they only went till like 9 or 10 p.m.
That's not very late with it,
Yeah.
Think if you were in finance office at Gates of Elkhart.
You'd still be there for a couple hours, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, shoot. What if it's 10? What if it's 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
I mean, you're stuck.
Exactly.
You're gonna have to walk.
Yeah, and the way that the urban part is just so decentralized too. It's not like everybody lives in all one area.
Yeah.
Your house. So you're in Granger. Now you said you're about 7 minutes from Gates of Elkhart. So, I mean, you're not even in like the if you'd have a downtown part of Granger, you're not in that area, are you?
No, I'm in a more rural area.
Exactly.
I'm on
it's so
County
rural.
Line Road, or Ash.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of rural. You know, it's country. That's why I kind of like it.
Yeah, you'd never see a bus come through there.
You do, but through my subdivision.
Yeah, true. The school bus, right?
Yeah, the school bus.
Yeah.
We live on the Elkhart-St. Joe County line, which is weird. I never see Elkhart County buses out there, though. I don't ever see that.
That's true. And they not just, a couple of years ago, they made that district all one high school.
Yeah, they did.
They made it back to Elkhart High School.
Yep. Which I think that was a huge benefit for them.
I think so, too.
That makes their sports teams a lot stronger.
That's right.
I mean, I knew their football team that one year was really, really good.
Exactly. And even this last year, they've had such a great, not this last year, this season right now for women's basketball, they're doing such an awesome job out there for Elkhart High School. Yeah.
Yeah, all I hear about now is Washington.
Yeah.
Mainly because of Terrell Morris. He shares a lot on Facebook.
Yeah.
But that's good. It keeps us in the loop.
Yeah.
But they have a girl going to Maryland I think for a full ride.
Yeah. They do.
I don't know about Elkhart that much just because I don't have someone sharing it on my feed. But
yeah, true. But even then,
more power to them.
Yeah. The South Bend, Washington, they've got like 2 or 3 that I think have, if they're not full rides, they're partial rides for next year.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Obviously, that one was just one that stuck out because I seen it, and a lot of people talk about it on the local area.
Yeah. Exactly. And Elkhart High School is a really strong team too for the girls basketball. But just like you said, for all sports, that's really made such a huge difference for their high school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Exactly. Well, Jeff, I know we talked about a lot of things today, whether it's some tips for financing a car, what the future holds for Gates Automotive, what the future holds for you. We even talked about what you hope to be remembered by. Now, I know we talked about what you want to be remembered by within Gates, but when you have kids, when you have grandkids, 30, 40, 50 years from now, what do you want to tell your grandkids and what do you want them to be proud of you for?
Well, I want to be a great husband.
Yeah.
Right. Been married for 3 years, like I said, even though I messed up the date. So I want to apologize for her.
Hey, it's only been 3 years.
Yeah.
If it was 20.
Yeah. She's been a huge part of my career because we got together about 12 years ago. So it took us a while to get married, but we wanted to make sure we were the right ones for each other.
Shout out to your wife.
Yeah. So shout out to her. She has to put up with a lot, because I work. Not only do I work a lot, I'm can be quite a tough guy to live with sometimes.
She's got to put up with you.
Yeah, she got to put up with me. But my kids and my grandkids and I just hope they can. I want them to be proud of me.
Yeah.
I want them to know that I want to teach them what they should do for their children and their grandkids. I want them to think that way because I know how proud I am of my grandfathers and my grandmothers and my mom. And, I want them to feel the same way.
Yeah.
So it starts, with, hard work and that, over time. But I have a lot of good friends too, that I see the way they are fathers. They've taught me a lot. So yeah, I'm excited. I hope that happens for me.
Well, that's great. I look forward to it when that time comes. And Jeff, I know I've said this already, but I think you're a huge asset to Gates, and I'm excited about your future, not only with Gates, but also in your personal life. You're a hard worker, you're diligent, and you're just really willing to help pour into your team, like I think your team has poured into you. So I'm excited for your future. Yeah, I appreciate it. You've been a huge asset to the team as well since you came on to Gates. So thanks. I appreciate it. Shout out to you as well. We're gonna cut that part out. No, yeah, don't cut that out. Yeah. It's been fun having you because we were just talking the other day to see the videos of everybody because not only does it help the customers get to know us a little bit, but also other people within Gates know other people. I think it's cool to hear everybody's story. And that's, Jeff, that's the most exciting thing about this is I get to help you tell your story. And that's just really exciting to me. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. I do appreciate it. Well, of course, Jeff. Well, we're going to draw this episode to a close. Is there anybody else? I know we shouted out a ton of people so far, but is there anybody else that is a family member, someone you work with, or maybe someone in the community that you want to give a shout out to? Yeah, I mean, I'd shout out to all my brothers and sisters. Yeah, my brother shout Brad, to your brothers, Caleb, shout to your sisters. My Larissa. Yeah, my stepdad Dave. Yeah, he's also a hardworking guy. He's a union carpenter. My brother's a union carpenter as well, so they know hard work. My mom, she's been a huge part of my life. She put up with you, right? And she put up with me too. And trust me, well, I wasn't always the easiest. Yeah, I wasn't the hardest out of all the kids. But I wasn't the easiest. Yeah. People within Gates, I have I could do a million shout outs because, thankful for the detail department, service department. Yeah. Huge shout out to Fixed Ops. Yeah, Fixed Ops. I mean, you got Judy and, I don't know. Yeah, Judy and Bill and Tony up there. Well, they've done an awesome job. Yeah. All of them, but I can't even think of Debbie. Oh, Debbie too. Yeah, she does the most work for us at our Debbie. Store. Yeah, Paula. Shout out to Paula. Julie. Yeah. Shout out to Julie. There's a lot of important people that we forget about, or they don't get all the thanks. So that's right. Thanks to them. Salesmen, again, if a car isn't sold, that's the first thing that has to happen. That's right. Right. If they don't sell a car, nothing happens till you sell a car. Exactly. So, thankful for all those guys as well. Huge shout out to the salesmen. Well, cool, Jeff. I loved having you on today, and I'd love to have you on again sometime if you're cool with that. Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Yep. Thank you. Hey, everyone. JC here. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Car Talk, presented by Gates Automotive, where we talk about everything car-related from buying, selling, to financing and servicing. Huge thank you to Jeff Howe for coming on his day off and making this happen. And thank you to our viewers for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.